afternoon. My name is Daan Luining, and I love meat. I especially like it when my steak is medium rare with some pepper sauce. But 6 years ago, a close friend of mine taught me how damaging the meat industry is to our environment. And when I learned this, I didn't stop eating meat. The habit is engraved in my brain, and I can't seem to break it. How did I get to this, and what is the solution to all this? So I'd like to take you back in time to show you that we can't keep going on the way we do right now, and what the future beholds. So for that, I'd like to introduce you to Frank the caveman. Frank is a caveman that lived about 200,000 years ago, and his main diet consists of nuts, fruits, and on occasion, some meat. Frank is a hunter, so it is his job to get the food on the table. It takes almost his entire day to track prey and to chase it around and kill it, and he's not always successful. So when he is, it's a reason to celebrate. Frank loves the taste of meat, and he wished that he could eat it more often. But unfortunately, it takes up so much time that he spends his entire day looking for food, so it's not really worth it. But luckily, Frank is smart, so Frank changed. Frank became a farmer. What he did, he domesticated animals, cows, chicken, pigs, and this also gives him access to milk and eggs. But he also figured out that he could grow crops in huge amounts to feed these animals, but also himself and the people of his entire village. So this frees up their time to do other stuff like invention or philosophy. People love Frank. But Frank changed again, because more and more people relied on Frank to provide them with food. Around 99% of people are doing other stuff than making food. And the demand of food is so big that Frank had turned his farm into a factory. Unfortunately, Frank is really, really good at his job. And the way he does his job is actually damaging the environment and other animals and the people who live in it. And this is what that looks like. What you're looking at now is an aerial photo of a factory farm in America, where the grayish parts are the fields where these cows don't graze on, because there's no grass to be grazing on. They're being fed soy and grains. And in the middle, you can see this massive amount of manure that's being collected. So you can imagine this is a horrible condition for these animals to be living in. And not only is this for the animals a bad situation, also for us, it's a very bad situation. Around 15% of all greenhouse gases are emitted by cattle, and these basically come from cow farts. Cows have bacteria inside of their stomach that helps them digest food and breaks down the tough cell wall of plants. But unfortunately, these bacteria have a nasty side product, which is methane. And methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. It's 40 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And not only is the process very damaging to the environment, it's also very inefficient. For every kilogram of beef, so if you go to the Albert Heijn and you get a kilo knaller, 15,000 liters of water is being used for that 1 kilogram. So it's very difficult for us to mitigate these negative effects. So what we do is we keep herds in massive amounts. And to keep those herds healthy, we give 70% of all antibiotics we give to these animals. So this way we keep them healthy, but the problem is when we do that is that the bacteria inside of the animals becomes resistant to these antibiotics. And the problem is with that is that it could infect the meat and also the people that are handling these animals. So this has to change. Frank has to change again. So what I want for Frank is to become this: a scientist. Better yet, a cultured meat scientist. Making the same meat, but without the animal. And people always have been telling me, if you want change, you better do it yourself. So this is what I did. I joined a lab that works on cultured meat, and here you can see me growing muscle cells. And these muscle cells were used to create this: the first ever laboratory-grown hamburger, made here in the Netherlands. Unfortunately, thank you. Unfortunately, the process was not very well done. This hamburger was priced 250,000 euros, so we're not there yet. We're working on it. So what is cultured meat, and how do we make it? We start by taking a cell from an animal. and you put this cell in a nutrient-rich environment with warmth and oxygen where it's allowed to start multiplying. One cell becoming 2, 2 becoming 4, and 4 becoming 8. Until we have enough cells to start making some tissue. We'll not only need muscle tissue to recreate the real experience of a hamburger, but we also will need fat tissue for that. And when we get to that point, I can hardly believe that anybody would choose a piece of meat that tastes the same, looks the same, smells the same as the real thing, but without an animal killed. But also, if you look beyond that, think about the benefits this technology could have. We could grow this inside of a building. Instead of using surrounding areas to grow food and transporting that inside of the city, we can, together with vertical farms, grow all the food a city needs from inside, with little to no transportation time. Not only that, we can also start to redefine what meat can actually be. Can you imagine how it would taste if you combine muscle stem cells together with tuna fat cells? I'm very curious about that. And also, personal passion of mine is space. And the news has been going on that we're starting to venture further out into space. But what I can't imagine is that we will strap a cow to a rocket and we'll shoot it off with us in outer space. But what I can imagine is that we'll take along a small viral cells that we can grow out to massive amounts of meat, so people don't have to be forced to be vegetarians of the world. So if you don't care about animals, but you do care about yourself, look at this. 90% of all greenhouse gases can be reduced if you try to use cultured meat. This is recently done an environmental impact studies, which also showed that 95% of water and land use can be reduced without a single animal killed. I truly believe this is going to be part of the future, but we're not there yet. Probably not for 5 to 10 years. And we could use all the help that we can get. But so for now, today, I would go one step beyond meat and introduce to you the Mac future. Thank you very much.